So today marks the United Nations International Day in support of victims of torture. Despite torture being prohibited by international law, it still exists in many forms. Chikondi Chijozi is the Criminal Justice Program Lead at the Southern African Litigation Centre. She joins us now to discuss the reports of torture in Malawi's prisons. Chikondi, thank you very much for availing yourself this morning. What do we need to understand when it comes to Malawi and these reports of torture in some sectors of society, even violence that is perpetuated by community members taking matters into their own hands, mob justice?
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, when we talk about torture in our prisons, especially in Malawi, we're looking not only at issues of congestion in our prisons, but also the issues of lack of nutrition in our prisons and issues of increased cases of diseases like TB, HIV, AIDS in our prisons. If you will recall, in 2007, the Constitutional Court of Malawi declared the conditions in the Malawi prisons to be inhumane because of the serious levels of congestion, where we have prison cells holding over 100% capacity of prisoners as required by the prison. So in our prisons, we have seen a lot of people that have suffered as a result of congestion, people that have gotten sick because of congestion, and that the situation in the prisons continues to increase and need to deteriorate. Even though the courts in 2007 declared the conditions to be inhumane, we have seen that the prison conditions have worsened, with the population in the prison even increasing more than what was the situation in 2007. And that time the court had ordered that the prisons should reduce the prison the population by half within a period of 18 months. But the situation has got even worse, and more people are sent into prison. Apart from the prisons, we're also looking at issues of torture in places of detention like the police, where people like sex workers, people who are informal traders get arrested, they get beaten up by the police. And we have seen so many reported cases where people have been seriously injured in police custody. And even in some cases where women have been victims of sexual violence by the police. So these are cases that we're looking at, and this day presents an opportunity for us to reflect on that kind of torturous activities that are happening in places of detention.
Chikondi, just a note to our viewers that as we speak to you now, we are about to show some visuals that we have obtained that speak to this issue. So just a note for some viewers that may find the content disturbing. So the question put to you now is that, Malawi is not the exception to the rule, with a number of other African countries, whether it's on the part of the police or whatever other relevant authority that has been tasked with maintaining law and order. You'll also hear people on the ground telling you that, well, in this country, I really do not want to go to prison because the state of our prisons is appalling. You speak of overcrowding in these prisons. Are we actually seeing a correlation or a relationship between the force that is meted out against people and the drop in crime or the maintaining of law and order?
Actually, when you come to think of it, you remember that when we are sending people to prison, we are sending people to prison as a punishment. That is the punishment. But we are not sending people to prison to be punished. Because what is happening is that even though people are in these appalling conditions, people are still committing crimes. And that is why we should reflect whether the form of a prison service that we have is working to achieve the goal of imprisonment, which is rehabilitation, because people come out of prison very traumatized by the conditions. You'll see, you're showing the pictures, you'll see that particularly in Malawi, people don't actually sleep. There's no space to sleep. People sit down, people are packed like sardines, and they stay up in such conditions from 3 in the afternoon to the next day in the morning around 7. And you can imagine for a person to be in such kind of conditions where they can't move, they are put in that position the whole night, and they have to stay like that for hours. When they come out of prison, there are hurdles, there are people that have gone through imaginable experience, and it doesn't really help in rehabilitating the people because they feel like the country has neglected them instead of actually assisting them in rehabilitation.
The Constitution of Malawi protects the dignity of all persons, and that's Section 19 of the Constitution, and it provides that no person shall be subject to the torture of any kind or to cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment or punishment. What options then are available to people through organizations like yourselves?
I think the law actually provides for options. It's just that we have overrated imprisonment so much that we are even putting in prison people for petty offenses, which has caused a lot of overcrowding in our prisons. If the courts could consider other options of sentencing, which is probation, community service, suspended sentence, even someone just being given a caution or where the court can actually discharge a person after conviction. So all those are options that are available, and I guess because of the historical way that we've run our prisons is to punish more than to rehabilitate the person, and that's why we have overemphasized on imprisonment as opposed to using the other forms of sentencing.
That's unfortunately all the time we can afford for this conversation. Thank you very much, though, for availing yourself. That was Chikondi Chijozi. She's the Criminal Justice Program Lead at the Southern African Litigation Centre. Let's take you